Welcome to Elderly Pathways. Our channel is dedicated to seniors and their loved ones, offering valuable insights on living a healthy, happy, and peaceful life in older age. If you're looking for helpful information, sincere advice on healthcare, life choices, and making important decisions in life, you've come to the right place. In today's video, I'll be sharing an incredibly important topic that I believe will help many of you avoid making the wrong decisions when faced with the option of moving into a nursing home. Why I regret moving into a nursing home? 6 hard truths you must know. As someone who has experienced this process, I want you to understand that life in a nursing home is not just about convenience, as we might think. There are many things I wish I had known before making this decision. If you're considering this option for yourself or a loved one, the lessons I'll share today will help you think more carefully and make a well-informed decision. Regret 1: losing my independence. The biggest shock after moving into the nursing home wasn't the small room, the fixed meal times, or the unfamiliar faces. It was the realization that I had lost control over my own life. Before moving in, I had routines that were entirely mine. I chose when to wake up, when to eat, and how to spend my day. I could go for a walk whenever I wanted, cook my own meals, or just relax in my favorite chair with a book. But as soon as I settled into the nursing home, I quickly realized that my time was no longer my own. Everything was dictated by a schedule I had no say in. Breakfast at a fixed time, whether or not I was hungry, lights out at a certain hour, whether or not I was ready to sleep. If I wanted to take a walk outside, I might need permission, and I'd have to wait for someone to be available to help me. Simple decisions, like what to eat or what to wear, suddenly became privileges rather than basic choices. I vividly remember my first week there. I woke up in a bed that wasn't mine, stretched, and reached for the book I had been reading at home. But when I looked around the room, it hit me. This was not my home. The books, the favorite chair, and all the little comforts I had gathered over the years were gone. Instead, there were sterile walls, a bed I didn't choose, and an overwhelming sense of unfamiliarity that I couldn't shake. I was no longer in control of my own life. The hardest part? Once you give up your independence, getting it back is almost impossible. You adapt because you have to. You stop questioning the set dinner times. Stop asking if you can go for a walk whenever you want, and you start to fit into their system. But in doing so, you lose a little bit of yourself with every adjustment. If you're considering moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the small freedoms that make your life truly yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you could ever imagine. Regret 2: the feeling of being forgotten. One of the hardest truths about moving into a nursing home is realizing that the world outside continues without you. When I first moved in, my family reassured me that they would visit frequently. I believed them, and for a while they kept their promises. My daughter came every week, and my grandchildren visited on weekends. At first, it felt like I still had a connection to my old life. But as time passed, the visits became less frequent. My daughter started calling instead of visiting, and my grandchildren became more involved in their school and work commitments. The holidays were the hardest. Everyone promised to visit, but at the last minute, plans would change. And suddenly I found myself sitting alone in a common room, watching other residents staring at the door, hoping today would be the day someone remembered them. It wasn't that my family stopped loving me, but life simply became busier for them. When you're not there every day, it's easy for people to assume you're doing fine, that you're adjusting well and don't need as much attention. But the truth is, the longer you're in a nursing home, the easier it becomes for people to forget about you, to forget that you still need them. I remember one evening, sitting alone in my room, holding the phone, debating whether I should call my son. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to remind him that I was still here, waiting for a visit that might never come. So I put the phone down, and that's when it hit me. This was my life now. Sitting here, watching the days slip by, hoping someone would remember me. If you're considering moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you truly prepared for the loneliness that comes with it? Because once you're out of sight, it's easy for people to forget about you. No matter how much they love you, being out of their immediate view means you become less of a priority. Regret 3. Losing a sense of purpose. When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was just changing where I lived. But what I didn't realize was that I was also changing the very reason I got up every day. At home, I had routines, responsibilities, hobbies, and a purpose. I had small tasks that gave my day meaning, like watering the plants, making my own coffee, tidying up my space, and even having the freedom to simply relax and do what I enjoyed. These little moments made me feel alive and in control. But in the nursing home, those things were taken away. Meals were prepared for me, cleaning was done by someone else, and my plants, they were no longer mine to care for. At first, I told myself that it was a relief not to have any responsibilities, to just rest and let others take care of everything. But after a few weeks, I started to feel a deep emptiness. The days felt longer and longer, and there was nothing to fill them but waiting. I began to notice this in the other residents too. People who used to be full of life now sat in their chairs, staring out the window, watching time pass with no real purpose. I remember a man named George, 84 years old, who had been a carpenter his whole life. At home, he was always fixing things, working on small projects in his garage. But here there were no tools, no projects to work on. I watched as his hands, once skilled and strong, sat idle in his lap. One day he turned to me and said, "I feel useless now." I knew exactly what he meant. When you no longer have something to care for, when you no longer have goals to strive toward, life loses its meaning. The mind begins to slow, and with it, the body. Before long, you start to feel like just another face in the crowd, stuck in a place where nothing changes. If you're considering moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, what gives your life meaning? Because once you move in, rediscovering purpose is not as simple as filling the time with activities. It's a struggle to hold on to the things that make you feel truly alive. Without a purpose, the days can feel endless and dull, and it's easy to lose sight of what makes life worth living. Regret 4. Rapid decline in health beyond expectations. Before I moved into the nursing home, I was doing well health-wise. I wasn't running marathons, but I was independent enough to take care of myself, walking, cooking my meals, and managing everyday tasks. I had routines that helped keep me active. Grocery shopping, stretching every morning, even just walking around the house to keep my legs strong. But once I moved in, everything changed. At first, I thought I was simply taking a break. Meals were prepared for me, and I no longer had to stand in the kitchen cooking. If I needed something, all I had to do was press a button and someone would come to help. However, what I didn't realize was that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. I stopped moving, and it didn't take long before my legs started feeling stiff and immobile. I found myself sitting for longer periods, and soon getting up from a chair became more and more difficult. The muscles I had worked so hard to maintain over the years started to fade faster than I ever expected. And it wasn't just me. I saw it happening to other residents as well. People who once walked confidently on their own 2 feet now needed wheelchairs. Those who had been fiercely independent found themselves asking for help with tasks they never once needed assistance with. The more help we received, the more we seemed to need. I remember Alice, an 81-year-old woman who had been so active when she first arrived. She would walk around the entire facility, determined not to slow down just because of her age. But just a few months later, I noticed her walking less and less. She started using a walker, then a wheelchair. One day, she looked at me and said, "I don't know what happened, but I feel like I've aged 10 years in just a few months." And that hit me hard. When you stop using your body, it starts to lose its strength. And in a place where everything is made easier for you, it's easy to forget that movement is not just about convenience, it's about survival. If you're considering moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, do you still have the motivation to keep your body strong when everything around you is designed to make life effortless? Because once you stop moving, starting again isn't as simple as you might think. The more you let your body rest and be taken care of, the harder it becomes to reclaim your strength. And the longer you stay in that environment, the more challenging it is to regain your independence and physical health. This version emphasizes the gradual decline in health, using more vivid imagery and emotional depth. It expands on the idea that while nursing homes might provide comfort, they can also lead to a rapid physical deterioration due to inactivity. Regret 5, the loss of privacy and dignity. One thing I didn't fully understand when I moved into the nursing home was how much I would lose my privacy. At home, I had my own space, a room I could close the door to whenever I needed peace, and the freedom to do things my way. But in the nursing home, privacy became a luxury I could no longer afford. From the moment I arrived, I felt like I was being constantly observed. Staff members were in and out of my room, scheduled room checks became routine, and the shared spaces left little room for solitude. Simple things like changing clothes or using the restroom sometimes required someone's assistance. I know they were just doing their jobs, but it's incredibly difficult to accept help for things you've done independently your whole life. I remember my first week there, feeling disoriented and uncomfortable when I had to ask for permission to do things that once came naturally to me. The choices I had regarding meals were also limited. If I didn't like the menu for the day, well, that was just too bad. I had to accept what was given. And then there's the issue of sharing a room. Not everyone gets a private room, and sharing your space with someone you didn't choose can be an incredibly uncomfortable experience. I was fortunate to have a kind and considerate roommate, but I heard plenty of stories from others who weren't as lucky. Roommates who were loud, unclean, or had cognitive issues that made sleeping almost impossible. No matter how much effort you put into making your room feel like home, it never truly feels like yours. Dignity is something that's hard to get back, and I didn't realize how much of it I would have to surrender until I was already living there. The constant intrusion into what was once my personal life, the loss of control over simple daily tasks, and the need for assistance with basic things, it gradually chipped away at my sense of self. If you're considering moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the privacy and control you've had your entire life? Because once those things are gone, reclaiming them is far harder than you might expect. Regret 6, realizing leaving isn't as easy as you think. When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself it would be temporary. I thought if I didn't like it, I could just leave and go back to my old house. But I quickly realized that leaving wasn't nearly as simple as I had imagined. At first, I was convinced that if I didn't enjoy it, I could always return home. But when I tried to picture myself going back, things weren't the same. The house had been sitting empty for so long, and maintaining it from a distance had become difficult. My children had already started making changes, selling things they thought I no longer needed, and even considering renting out the house. When I brought up the idea of returning home, they hesitated, questioning whether I could really take care of myself or if staying in the nursing home might be safer for me. My health had declined too, and after living in a place where everything was taken care of for me, I found myself too weak to manage on my own. I wasn't as physically strong as I used to be, and I began to feel that my independence had been slowly slipping away. This realization left me feeling trapped. I wasn't the only one. Many residents here had the same feeling. They thought they would give the nursing home a try, just temporarily, and then return to their homes. But after getting used to the structure and comfort of life here, leaving became far more complicated than they had imagined. In fact, some of them didn't have the option to return home at all. Their houses had been sold, or their savings had been depleted by the high costs of care. This is the part that no one tells you. The decision to move in seems like it's reversible, but for most people it isn't. The nursing home gradually becomes your entire world. And before you realize it, the life you once knew outside feels like a distant memory, something you can barely reach anymore. If you're considering moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the possibility that once you enter, leaving may not be as simple as you think? The barriers, whether financial, physical, or emotional, can become much harder to overcome than you expect. Before making this decision, truly consider the long-term effects and the challenges you may face if you ever want to leave. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below with the number 6 to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I highly recommend you do so and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to create high-quality content that both informs and inspires. Final thoughts. Looking back, I don't regret growing older. I have embraced it. But there's one thing I deeply regret: believing that moving into a nursing home was my only option. I entered with the hope of finding comfort, safety, and a better quality of life. However, what I found instead was a world that slowly stripped me of my independence, my privacy, my sense of purpose, and even my very identity. Does this mean that nursing homes are all bad? Not at all. Some people truly need the level of care they offer. But before you make that life-altering decision, take a moment to really think about what you'll be giving up. Once you move in, your life will never be the same again. If I could go back, I would have fought harder to stay in my own home. I would have explored every possible way to get the help I needed without giving up my freedom. I would have made absolutely sure that I truly needed to be in a nursing home before making such a permanent move. If you're currently facing this decision, I hope you take the time to reflect. Is this really the best choice for me? Or is it just the easiest one in the moment? The life you have today, the routines you've built, your independence and the choices you make, is worth holding on to for as long as possible. It's a part of you, and letting go of it shouldn't be taken lightly. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment below and share one thing you've learned from this video and how you plan to use it in your life. Your input is incredibly important to us. Your comments give us the motivation to keep going, and we can't thank you enough for your support. If you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others. Your support helps us continue creating content that educates, informs, and inspires. Thanks for watching, and we can't wait to see you in our next video.